And welcome back to another episode of The Elevated Life. We are your hosts. I'm Ashley and I'm joined by
Evette.
Yes, listen, y'all. This topic today, we always talk about we tired. We can't do nothing else. Are you tired or lazy?
I mean, which one is it?
Is it?
What is it?
Now, we all are allowed to have lazy days,
Come on.
absolutely, where we say,
Mhm.
I'm not doing it today. We're going to watch this show. We're going to go to the spa. We're going to do nothing. That's okay.
Right.
But
Exactly.
when it comes to the responsibilities of the things that you say you want, the things that you say you desire, are we dragging our feet? Are we complaining? Or do we just feel like this is too much? It's too much and I can't do it. So that is the topic that we're going to be discussing today. We have a clip that we came across online that really sparked this discussion. And Evette and I were having, and we're like, we should take this to the podcast and really see what comes out of the conversation. So we're going to share in the first few minutes here where we started this discussion and how we really got into the topic of building your capacity.
Yes. And how it has challenged us on this topic.
Absolutely.
Right? Are we
Yeah.
tired or are we just a little lazy? Okay.
Exactly.
So we're going to play this clip right now and we'll get into it.
I'm not trying to deliver bad news, but what I'm saying is you have to accept that life won't stop demanding more from you. And that doesn't mean that life is out to knock you down or that life will always be hard. It means that as you take on new roles and move through transitions, becoming a parent, a partner, a leader, or even stepping into some of your personal goals, your capacity has to expand. And when your capacity expands, life will open up for you, but only if you stop resisting what it's asking of you. You can't keep talking about how much you hate being an adult, complaining about the responsibilities, calling them exhausting and draining, playing victim to the trade-offs and the sacrifices that come with the freedom to choose how you want to do life. That mindset is why you feel like you can never escape. The more you fight it, the more trapped you feel. So thriving doesn't mean escaping life's demands. It means leaning into them and realizing that they're shaping you into someone stronger, wiser, and more capable. When you accept that, life starts to feel lighter. Not because it stops asking, but because you've stopped resisting. This is how your capacity grows. This is how you stop surviving and you start thriving.
Girl, first thing I got to say is, why she all in my business though?
Tell you, it's a little, I was bobbing and weaving in and out of that whole thing because some stuff I was like, okay, I get it. And so like, well, hold up.
Okay.
Hold up.
Now.
Especially when it comes to, looking at, the concept of thriving, looking at what it takes to expand and go beyond, where you are and goals that you set for yourself. And, for example, if we use something simple, like you want to save a certain amount of money by a certain amount of time. To do that, you may have to make some sacrifices. I may not be able to get Starbucks 3 times a week. Maybe I need to go down to 1 time a week so that I can put that money towards, the savings that I want to create for myself or create this goal. So I definitely think it is, it really gave me something to think about. So our first question that I want us to, offer perspective on, when it comes to that is, are you resistant to the demands of what it takes? So are you like, oh no, Starbucks is how I take care of myself during the week, is what keeps me going. I may have to save some money, but Starbucks is not negotiable. Maybe I'm going to give up a eat out meal or something else different. So, how do we feel about the resistance of, what it could feel like, or what it, the uncomfort, the discomfort of what it takes sometimes to get to the end result. So I would say my perspective on that is, I'm not necessarily resistant to life's demands, but I am ever conscious of them. I know that if I want to have certain goals that I achieve in my career, certain goals I want to achieve in my business, I may have to be uncomfortable to get there. Now, does it feel good in the moment? No. Does it feel good to sacrifice and say, well, I'm going to not do something that I enjoy doing because in the long term, this will position me better for something that I'll be able to enjoy for a longer period of time versus just enjoying in the moment. But are you resistant to the demands? And I would say I'm not resistant, but I am conscious of them. And it is actually what I use to remind myself of what the goal is. So with one of the businesses that we have, is working with real estate and things of that nature. And with that, we often have to make choices that are relative to the goals that we have in mind. So, do we want to pick out this type of tile for the floor and this type of tile for the backsplash? Do we splurge on the backsplash and do a little less on the floor? And what type of investment is it? Is it a short-term investment or is it a long-term investment? So, I look at those sacrifices, if you want to use that word, as a way to motivate me that, okay, I may have to compromise on this, but I got the critical non-negotiables done. I know when even personally, we're looking at like a house that we wanted to buy, we will often say, well, you can't do everything. You can't do everything. You got to remind yourself, like, we can't do everything.
Yeah.
A little bit at a time, because I'm sure we could all go through and think about things that you want to do and like come up with a list real easy. But can you, realistically accomplish all of those in 6 months? Probably not, So, see, what are your thoughts there? Are you resistant to life's demands or what it takes to achieve goals?
I'm making these faces because, yes, sometimes I am. Like, the best example I can give, and I would say during certain situations and during when, how do I say this? I'm self-aware enough to know that there are times in my life where if I get to a certain part of feeling overwhelmed and like my capacity is, I'm at the peak of that. Like, I don't have nothing else to give, but life is still lifing.
And
that I can become resistant. So an example would be, speaking of businesses, right? Like our side businesses that we have, there are times where everything is thriving and happening at the same time. And the crazy thing is, Lord, that's what I desire, right? And you have given me, God, you have given me the tools, the gifting, the resources, the access to be able to to get the desires of my heart, to see them to fruition. But my God, Lord, help me. It's all happening at the same time. And so there are moments where I want to retreat, and I might do that for like a second and realize, well, you got to come back over him, because you have to. So here's an example. We have a travel agency. Okay. You've got travelers that you need to get. You've got these people over here saying, hey, we want to do this, we want to book a trip, we want to blah blah blah, and you've got to accommodate that. So we've got guests that are like reaching out to us about stuff that's happening or that they're trying to book with the Airbnb. We have these other things that are happening, whether it's some consulting opportunities that we have, and there's some demand there, and then we still have day jobs. We still have children that we're taking care of. We still got laundry. We still got
all the things.
And that's an example of when things are going well. Like, it's a really active, busy, but it's positive. The return on investment is there. Then there are times where, things are falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And
that can also happen all at once.
It always happens at once, doesn't it?
Exactly.
And so you have that too. And so I will say that I know myself well enough to know I am retreating, and that's okay. But you got about 5 minutes, because you have to come back, and retreating means, maybe I'm not checking my business emails for a day or two, because I know there's a lot there, whatever it might be. Or maybe I'm not responding to this particular item right this moment, not because I can't, but maybe I don't have the capacity in here because I've exhausted myself somewhere else. And so it's easier to just resist. So that's how I would see it.
I mean, I just this Christmas, my mom gave me a picture that I'm gonna put in my office, that says, "I still remember the days I prayed for what," and that is like right into the things that we're talking about, because we ask for the promotion, we want the kids, we want the family, we want, whatever, define it, whatever that is. And then as soon as you get it, I remember thinking, oh, we're gonna get a puppy, it's gonna be so cute, and we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that, and then you gotta clean up behind it, and then the kids say, oh yeah, we gonna help, that
Ain't
turned
help the
into
first.
exactly, turn into your puppy. So it's just a constant reminder, like, and then even, I'm sure you've seen this concept online, that I get to, it is my honor to take care of my family, it is my privilege to take care of my kids, I am blessed to be able to have a puppy that I can have as a part of my family, like, all of those things. So I definitely think it's about perspective when looking at it, and that can help you with, I think, resistance, or feeling like, oh, I asked for this job, and if they send me one more email, things
Right.
like that, I think it can definitely help you be reminded about it. And then, do you complain about the success you have? We say, you want this certain type of job, you see yourself doing this type of career, you see yourself performing in a certain type of way, but are you prepared to do what it requires?
Right.
I've even had instances where, you look at it from just even from a relationship perspective. You in your mind have an ideal mate, you have an ideal person that you want to, be with, and like, oh, they should be kind, they should be patient, they should love to do things outdoors, or whatever the case may be. And then the person could check out those boxes, but the not sacrifice, but the compromise for that is they want to sleep in a tent, and you like doing stuff else, but you want to sleep in a hotel. So you
Right.
like, do the hike, but let's come on back to the hotel. They're like, no, the hike is going to be up the mountain. We staying up there tonight. So, you have to see what the most important things are when, that's one of the things I've really learned, I would say, since the pandemic, and where I really just started to pay more attention to just my thoughts and my actions and my desires. And with that, I started to notice things like that, like, this is what I desired, this is my experience, and I didn't think about that part.
Right. I do think it helps you. So to answer your question, sometimes I have gotten into that rut of complaining about, and I would say, I wouldn't say complaining about the success that I have, because I'm not thinking about it as success. I'm thinking about the demand, and that I'm complaining about the demand. I'm complaining about the elevated expectations. And what is so convicting about that is it's what I prayed for. And so having that reminder, man, and it's not always just this gentle reminder, but sometimes it's a convicting reminder to say, this is what you prayed for. Girl, I used to pray that prayer, the Jabez prayer: Lord, enlarge my territory, expand my territory.
I read that little skinny book about 4 or 5 times.
Listen,
And taking on vacation with me. I mean,
listen. Then I would read
in my spirit.
I would read that, and then I would listen to Donald Lawrence's song on that, expanding and I would
Enlarge my territory.
enlarge my crying and stuff, snotting. Girl, then God said, okay,
Ready.
let me give you more responsibility on your job. Let me elevate you in terms of what you own. Let me elevate you in what you understand the vision that I have for your life is, because it's always been there, but you didn't have the capacity, to use that word, to see it and to receive it and to understand it. Let me give you that burden. Let me elevate you spiritually and grow you spiritually so you see things from a different lens. Let me give you more responsibilities in the church.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, right? So what we think and what we see is the elevation and the enlargement and the expansion, but we don't understand what it requires to maintain, what it requires to take care of yourself, what it requires to be prayed up. That we don't listen. I pray for these jobs that I done had. And I've had some days where I'm like, Lord, I literally give me strength, God.
Don't take nothing else.
Get from moment to moment, because it's so much responsibility and it's so much the level of elevation oftentimes takes a physical toll on you. You know what I mean? So Lord, give me this caffeine over here and give me some strength and give me the wherewithal, the common sense, give me the discernment to know when I need to rest and all of that stuff. But yeah, I have found myself going, oh, I gotta go to this, I gotta do this. And like you said, reframing that and saying, I get to, and this is what I prayed for. So how dare I take it for granted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you think that, thriving, so do you think sacrifice is required to thrive?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Sacrifice. We don't spend enough time on that. Like, people are naturally, we are human beings are naturally selfish. Like, even the most selfless person has selfish tendencies. And we've talked about this as it pertains to marriage, because what it requires for you to be married is this constant give and take, that you're setting your own desires aside to think of your marriage and your relationship, right?
Yeah.
And that's not something that just happens overnight, and it's always something that you're growing towards and leaning into. But I think, on a broader level, I just think we have a tendency to be a little selfish. And so sacrifice means denying myself what I want in the moment, and it means that I have to put aside my selfish desires for whatever the bigger vision, goal, aspiration is, whether it benefits just me or benefits my entire family, or my community, or my church family, or my work family, whatever that is.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's required, but I think we struggle with that. What's your thoughts? And let me say, I struggle with it. I'm speaking for myself.
Yeah, I mean, I think that sacrifice is required to thrive on a certain degree, because if we go back to the concept of you can't do it all, I would say that is a time when I feel myself challenged with the pull of the space that I'm in. That's when I try to pray. I try to reevaluate and reshift some things if I can. But I also, look at it from a place of, this is preparing me. This is getting me ready for what the next step is. Like, yeah, I may have prayed for this job, but I know there's something after this.
Yeah.
What am I going to need in this that's going to take me, to that next level? And then also there's the concept of, if you're not being challenged, you're not growing.
Yeah.
If it's easy, if you can do it with your eyes closed, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
So I think it's important to have a degree of challenge, but the key to me is it the right type of challenge?
Right.
Because you can have a challenge in a relationship where you keep on trying to meet somebody halfway, you keep on being nice, you keep on forgiving them, you keep on just like, oh, it's okay, all right, that's all right, we're gonna figure it out. And then you get to a certain point where it's just like, well, I've tried. We're not being successful at growing this.
Right.
Is this where I need to spend the energy? So I think that's a key part of it too, that just because it's challenged, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's growing you. It could be challenged that it might be something that you need to let go to increase your capacity for something.
Right.
If you're trying so hard to, make this business take off, but you don't never have no motivation to work on it, you don't never have anything that you want to do with it, is that truly where you want to spend your energy? Or would you find more joy in doing something else? And I think that's an important thing for us to also consider in this conversation is, me personally, I can get so married to an idea or a concept, I almost feel like I'm betraying myself if I change my mind. Like, I have to do this. I said I was going to do it, and I have to do it. Who's holding you accountable for that? Nobody. Nobody knows.
It's not a law if you have to do that.
Knows that you want to save $1,000 in 6 months or whatever the case is.
Right.
It's to yourself. Well, you may have said it to your partner, your significant other, but truly, like, what's going to happen if you don't get it done in that time frame? And most of the time, the answer is nothing. Sometimes there are implications, like if you don't pay your bills sometime, they will come get the stuff or they will shut you down.
Right. Okay. Pay your bills.
But things that you may have a goal in, like, really, what truly is the impact if you don't achieve it? We need to, I feel like sometimes myself personally, just get closer to that, because I will have in my mind this narrative of gloom and doom and detriment that ain't nobody in there but me.
Right. And it's so liberating when you are making a decision around sacrificing something because it is for the benefit of whatever you have in mind, but to know that it's up to you. It's your choice. Like, you can move on and let it go, or if you don't meet it at that time, within that time frame, to say, okay, we're changing course, or maybe we need a few more months to meet that goal, or whatever it is. So definitely not feeling like you're locked into something. Sometimes that requires sacrifice, doing things different than maybe your mind has typically, the way you've typically thought about something, right? And being able to say, I'm going to relinquish control over this situation. Come on. Yes, I've had a goal to make this sacrifice, and I'm giving myself grace because I didn't meet that timeline, and now I'm going to move on, or I'm going to expand, or extend, I should say, that timeline. So
be able to reset. Like, that's such a good reminder. Like, being able to use the word reset. We reset these computers, TVs, everything else.
Every day.
Reset yourself. It don't have to be January to do a reset. It don't have to be the end of Q1 for a reset. Anytime you feel like hold up, time out.
Right.
Let's try it again.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. I want to get into this part of what she talked about in the video. Her name is Raquel the Capacity Expert. Where she talks about is thriving, she talks about what thriving is, and part of it, according to this video and her point of view, is really leaning into increased responsibility. And is that what we think of when we think of thriving, or is that just us being delulu and saying that leaning into accepting increased responsibility is a sign that you're thriving? Or is it just, it is what it is? I have increased responsibility. Life is going to happen. Like, it's going to happen. And even in part of life happening, let me be very clear, comes with a set of challenges that life brings. You know, some of those challenges are unexpected surprises that come up. Some of them you can maybe anticipate will happen. Oftentimes we're prepared for those life challenges, but many times we're not. In every context of our life, there are things that will challenge us, right? On our job, we'll have challenges. As a parent, we'll have challenges. In our marriages, we'll have challenges. In our relationships, the challenges will occur. Life happens that way, right? And what I really hear her say is you have a choice. You can either accept that life's challenges will happen and decide to lean into those things, or you can resist that life's challenges are going to happen, and there are consequences when you resist it, right? Maybe you are more exhausted because you're fighting.
It's a trade.
Yes, that trade-off. So it's interesting because part of me feels like I understand her point. I do think when you accept life for what it is and what it brings, you're making a decision to lean into that and to thrive, right? To thrive in a sense of have the right peace of mind, yep, the sky is falling, but it ain't the end of the world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And it won't always be falling.
Right.
So anyway.
Hard to remember though. When you in the middle of the sky is falling, it's hard to remember that the world is not ending.
Right. Yeah. Because it feels like it.
Could this be any worse? Could this be any worse timing? Could this happen to any other day? How will I ever move on from this moment? It's so devastating.
Have you had moments? So I've done this where I have looked back on life, right? Just, and sometimes it's so random. Like, and I believe it's God's way of reminding me. I've looked back on life and I've looked and said, I thought it was the end of the world when that happened.
Yeah.
I thought I was done. I didn't even think there was light, a little inkling of light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah.
And now I look back on it and I can't even halfway remember why I thought the sky was falling.
I tell you, life will give you perspective. Keep on living. Just keep on living. It will give you perspective. Absolutely. Especially when it comes to decisions that you made. And sometimes it comes from even a lack of education, of not knowing, that you made a mistake, but you can't recover.
Right.
That you made a mistake or you did something that didn't turn out like you wanted it to, but that's all right. You learn from it and you'll make a better choice next time. So I would say definitely for high accountability individuals, which we both are, individuals that have, regard for, expectations. You have expectation, like everybody has an expectation of themselves. Like you have expectations and you fall short on those. How you process that is really, are you beating yourself up saying, oh my God, I'm so stupid. Why did I do it like that? Or are you saying, I was exhausted. I probably should have rested and I'm going to rest now and I'm going to do it again. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes it was this moment or nothing, and you just got to accept that too.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
And you won't know all the time if you'll have a chance to do it again or have a do-over. You just have to make the best choice in this, in the moment that you're in. But, it definitely that, life offers you that perspective of this ain't even a big deal.
Right.
I had a career coach one time, that really said something to me that changed my life in regards to thinking about like end of world thinking. And what happened was, she would ask me, I was pretty much verbatim the example you just gave. Like, I did this at work and I'm still thinking about it 2 weeks later, and ain't nobody even think about that but me.
Right.
And why am I like this?
Lost sleep.
Why do I keep thinking about this?
Right.
Why do I keep running through my mind? Why, if I did this, I could have did that. If I did this, it would have been better. And keep on replaying the tape. And she said, well, let me ask you something. And I'm like, okay. She's like, well, did anybody die? No. Was anybody bleeding? No. Are you, in a situation that, you are at risk for your safety or anybody else's safety? No. Then it's probably going to be all right. Right. So that completely shifted my thinking of like, when I make these mistakes, okay, it's a mistake. I'm a human.
Yeah.
Really acknowledging that, because I, for a long time, had this expectation of perfection. You got to do like this, and if you miss the mark, then you just ain't no good.
Right.
And that's not true.
Or everything else away that you've done and all your other contributions because of this one thing. And nobody else sees it the same way that you do.
Right.
A lot of times I've had the same struggle. It's gotten a lot better.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really in this season of life in terms of my career where I have decided, and I've shared this with a few friends, I am reinventing myself.
Oh, I love it.
Not doing things the same way. The same level of quality and the same level of expertise and the same level of, bringing great value to the organization, but losing sleep over things. That day is over. Trying to be perfect in everything, overly preparing, trying to over anticipate and do a job 2-3 levels higher than the one that I'm in. No, ma'am. Not doing that no more. But to your point, I have been in that place, and I still sometimes find myself, and I have to check myself doing that, where I'm like, oh, I made this mistake. I could have did this differently. And I really believe that is a trap of the enemy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Because
it makes you believe, or believe something other than what God had already told you, or whatever your promise is to be.
Yes. And so I do think that that's part of leaning in to life too, is deciding to accept that you have limitations and life happens. I love how she talks about, so help me expand my capacity, because I think the example that we just gave is an example of expanding our capacity to say, I am going to expand how I view errors and mistakes and how long I'm going to sit in that and dwell on it. So I'm not sitting in it and dwelling on it 2 weeks after the fact because I'm not perfect. That's a capacity expanding example to me. Because you've shifted how you think or perceive a situation, including yourself. So I do think sometimes, I would say there are some cautionary considerations that we should have when we say things like, expand my capacity for the way that life's. It doesn't mean that you can't feel frustrated or disappointed or overwhelmed.
Completely agree with that. I mean, I was just having a discussion with my daughter today that the whole gamut of emotions is okay to feel. It's okay to feel angry. It's okay to feel disappointed. It's okay to feel happy, sad, whatever it is. Feel it, experience it in that moment. But I think it's also important in that to know what's next for you. When you have those moments where, you don't feel as resilient, where you feel like I missed the mark and I am disappointed about this. And I just, I do want to take some time to see what I could do different. In the place of it being constructive, not in the place of tearing yourself down, not in the place of, blaming other people, but in a place of, well, maybe if I had asked for help. Sometimes it's just, I just need to ask for some help so that I'm not trying to do it all.
Mm-hmm.
And that can help me be more efficient in all areas if I just have some help with this one particular part.
And do you think that makes life feel lighter when we
like life don't never feel light to me? So
come on, somebody.
Listen, you could ask somebody else that question because no, it does not. I mean, the only thing that makes life feel lighter to me, God's honest truth, is prayer. That is the only thing that relieves any type of mental, physical, emotional load that I have. I mean, sometimes a good cry will do it, a good laugh will do it momentarily, but to truly, that's the moment, because I'm still carrying what I thought I did wrong, what I thought was a misstep, or like not being able to rise to the occasion like I was expected to. I'm still carrying that. After that little laugh, a little cry, it still creeps back in my mind.
Or even a responsibility of just what you're a steward of.
Have I done the laundry? Have I made the groceries? Have I washed the dishes? Whatever it is, my car needs to be cleaned out. Whatever it is, the only thing that truly helps me let go, and this is something I've had to work on my entire 40-some years, is praying and letting it go. Praying and leaving it in that prayer. Praying and know that God heard me the first time. I think you probably was the person that told me that. I'm sure other people across my life have said that, but you said it one time and it really, I heard it that time. And that's all that matters, that, in the moment when you had said that to me, it really resonated. And I've been continually just trying to work on that. Like, God heard me the first time. You ain't got to keep on going and begging and pleading and all that. Like, you need to move on to something else. You'll know when you get there. You'll know when it happens.
Working it out.
Just go on with what you need to do now. So, that I think, what about you? Do you feel, what makes life lighter for you? Because I feel like nothing.
Well, I appreciate your transparency, because I would agree. I think the only thing that makes life truly lighter is prayer for me too. And I would just add praise and worship Sunday morning, like that, getting to hear the word of God, like refilling my cup in that way for that moment in time. But again, it is prayer. Like I've had these I call them like these sprints of where the load is heaviest, right? The load is always there, but there are these sprints where, like this weekend I was sharing with you, I think there was probably 5 different things that my kids had going on in 5 different places, in 3 days, 2.5 days, you know what I'm saying? And so there, that feels really hectic. Among other things, in terms of the load and responsibility of everything else that is still happening, the things that I know are coming up this week for my job that I'm preparing for, that's on my mind, the businesses and all of that. And so there are these moments where it's heavier, and I do find I have a tendency to get caught up in those moments and not spend as much time in prayer, because I feel like my time is limited. But what I'm really disciplined, what I realize is those moments where prayer is most important. I'm very fortunate that I have, I work from home, and so I have the space to be able to work from an office in my church, and like my church office. And so sometimes what I'll do is go into the sanctuary. Come on, somebody, right? I got a prayer closet in my house, but it's something about being in that sanctuary, going to the altar and praying before the Lord, and coming up off my knees and feeling this load just lift, right? The weightiness of the responsibility remains, right? The weightiness of being a steward over the things remain, but the load feels different, right? And
Yeah.
so that to me is how I would describe it. And so that's why I struggle a little bit with some of the things that she's saying, because I do agree partially, but I do think, leaning into your responsibilities and into life and into all the things doesn't necessarily make you feel like you is skippity doo dah day, like it's all of a sudden just so light. No, it's still there, right?
Right. Like being excited to cook dinner don't mean that I want to do it. I mean, I can't wait to make these tacos. I just can't wait.
Exactly.
What?
Right. And we were talking about this right before we started recording. Here's an example of the load, okay?
Mhm.
Of it being heavy.
Mhm.
I am supposed to be present in the moment in a situation.
Mhm.
And now I remembered, boop, don't forget that doctor's appointment. Boop, them groceries. You need to order groceries. And we ain't got no milk, ain't no food in the house. Boop, how you gonna get this dinner together when you get home knowing daggone well you forgot this from the grocery store? Boop.
Yeah.
Make sure, contact the insurance company about blah, blah, blah. Make sure, contact this person about taking care of this. That is, now we're kind of getting into the mental load, which would be a good topic for another discussion.
Then what about the kids? What about this? What about that? I need a vacation. When the last time I told my girlfriends I need to get my nails done? I need a pedicure. When is my next hair appointment?
Right. Oh, Evie's being dropped off at this time at the house. Let's make sure. Where's she at? Did she get there?
Did she get there? Is the door open?
Oh, I'm doing this while I'm at a concert. Checking on the child to make sure she made it. Trying to pay attention to this other one. It's a lot. It is a lot to, and I talked about, the question around resisting. Yes, I have moments where I resist, but I don't have time to resist for too long. So to assume that by leaning in, all of a sudden the load is just, whoop, it's gone. That's not my experience.
Not my life. That's not my life. I mean, and to me, I think you need to define for you what leaning in looks like.
Okay.
Because leaning in could look like, yes, I may not feel excited about cooking, but I'm going to still cook. I'm still going to have the groceries. I'm still going to make the accommodations to make it happen. And I think it's helpful to not complain. You may not say you're happy to do it, but you could not complain. So for me, that's leaning in. That's not resisting it. Resistance is, I don't want to do it, so I ain't going to do it.
Avoidance, that's like avoiding.
Yeah.
It's like, we ain't got no food. What we
Good
gonna
luck.
do about dinner? Yeah. Let me go and sit on this couch. That's where we say, are you tired or are you lazy? Because
absolutely,
that is something different. And I'm not suggesting if you don't cook, you're lazy at all.
Absolutely not. But
right.
But yes, you have. But then that is also something that creeps into your mind, because if you're not caught up on your laundry, if you're not caught up on,
get somebody else to do it. If that's always your mantra,
if that's always your mindset, is it lazy, or are you building capacity in other ways? Are you smarter than the rest of us?
Right.
So I personally constantly monitor that step for myself. Constantly. I have almost a radar to laziness that is probably like not normal.
Right. Mine is kind of opposite. I'd be like, I've been a little lazy over in this. But
that's not normal. It is obsessive. It's so bad that I'm always thinking about doing something. I'm always trying to fix something.
Ashley, you don't stop.
Please don't bring it up. It's bad. It's bad. It is bad. See, it's bad.
I thought I didn't stop, but I do. I find a spot.
Tells me all the time, are you going to sit down the next day? So where that comes, it's probably some, overcompensation for something else. I'm probably keeping myself busy, not to think about all the other stuff that I need to be doing.
You're resisting the other stuff.
I'm resisting stuff and accommodating by constantly doing other things. So I mean, we can take this thing deep as you want to go.
Okay.
In regards to, are you being lazy or are you being productive? Or,
Right.
Are
Like
you
what?
resisting, or are you
Right.
truly doing what you got to do?
Right. And are you tired because your capacity is limited in terms of how you think about what you've been called to be
Yeah.
responsible for
And what you've asked for.
and what you've asked for, what you done prayed for.
You
That's
done
why God be
begged
like,
and
you
pleaded and
ain't
cried
ready. It's like
up on
we
that.
be praying for stuff. He be like, not right now. I
I knew
mean, well, I'm
you begged. You
enlarge my
couldn't live
territory,
without
Lord.
that man, and now you got him, and you don't even want to cook dinner. This is a great topic. It definitely
Yes.
was some good reminders, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
just around how you stretch yourself. And are you doing it for the right reason? Are you stretching in the right areas too? Because, I do believe that there is growth and discomfort, but is it the right type of discomfort? Are you enduring it longer than you should? And what is it
Mm-hmm.
giving? Are you learning something from it? Are you going to gain something from it? And
Right.
sometimes we don't know until we go through it. But as much as you can, if you can look forward to see, okay, if I do this, what's the benefit on the other end?
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to gain by going
Right.
through this. And if the gain is outweighing the sacrifice, I say don't do it. Gain is not outweighing the sacrifice. I said that wrong, but you know what I meant though.
Yes. This has been a really, really good topic. I think we're
Yeah.
just really scratching the surface though, right?
I'm walking away with this probably doing what we exactly talked about, but I really truly am thinking about some things like,
Yes.
am I spending the right type of energy in the right places? And is it yielding what I expected to yield? Or is the anticipated yield worth the sacrifice?
Yes. And I would say a takeaway for me is, am I accepting the life's demands in the context of what I've been called to be a steward of, or am I resisting it?
Mm-hmm.
And I think I would say it depends, but I do need to spend time reflecting on what I've been given and to embrace that all the time, with grace.
Absolutely.
With grace. So, well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Just a reminder, subscribe, like, share, comment. We appreciate you.
Topics at us. We love
Please.
We love to know your thoughts, ideas for things for us to discuss. We'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. The Elevated Life Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.
Bye.